What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday and welcome into the Better Baseball MLB DFS live stream. I am James Grande, joined by Colby Conway. Guys, sorry for the couple minute delay. My computer is spazzing out or was spazzing out. We should be good to go here, running like 3 minutes behind. Hopefully, we didn't keep you guys waiting for too long. But Colby, my man, what's going on, brother? How's your Wednesday afternoon been, or just Wednesday? How's your Wednesday overall been?
It's going by. Good to be here talking with you. Excited to dive into the slate again. I know we did the early preview, but now we'll be able to kind of really get into it here and get into the nitty gritty, get to our actual lineup that we'll be looking at tonight, and hoping we can kind of hit some of that magic like we did last night. Anyone who played that lineup, quite a few things went right in that lineup.
Yes.
And the one thing that didn't go right was the one I was the most sure of, and that was Fernando Tatis. But hey, that's baseball.
The cover of all of our content yesterday, Fernando Tatis, and yeah, I mean, like we talked about off air, the best players of all time are good 3 out of 10 times. We did have much more than 3 of 10 successful last night. So pat on our backs here. Brandon Marsh, shout out to you, Colby, for nailing that one. Stacks money sign. What up? That's a nice here, nice and early. Stacks, what's going on, man? Colby, I don't know if you see this, and it might be you on a burner account like Kevin Durant. Pittsburgh Pirates logo there for Stacks. Just throwing that out there. So getting Pirates fans in here nice and early. Maybe you sent like a message, like a bat signal out to the rest of the Pirates fans out there, just to let them know you're going live. But
I mean, hey, there's about 2 of 9 now, so we got about 12% of the fan base is now here in this chat. So it's glad to see a fellow Pittsburghian here rooting on the cause here. But we'll have to see. I know, kind of just like last night, not very optimistic about them, but we'll see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, well, we'll see if it goes as well as it did last night for the Pirates, because things did go quite well for them in a spot that we weren't sure about. As people funnel in, don't forget, if you guys are listening over on YouTube, whether it be Fantasy Alarms YouTube or the Better Sports Network, hit that like button, hit that thumbs up, follow this the channel, subscribe to the channel so you get the notification every time we go live. We go live every day, 5 p.m. We have the podcast every morning at 9 a.m. and everything in between, baseball, football, you name it, we got it here at the Better Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm. Colby, with all that aside, 13 games, a bigger than usual Wednesday slate. But what is, your outlook on today's slate when we're talking about Vegas? I mean, we have Coors, obviously, 12 and a half implied runs there. That's a run more than it was yesterday. Anything else stand out to you, either over-unders or in terms of money line?
I just can't believe that Baltimore Cincy game didn't jump more.
Yeah.
Like from 9, some markets 9 up to 9.5. I mean, this is an offensive matchup that we can only dream of. Howard Bender in his home run call, I believe he called the Cincinnati starter Puke Weaver, I believe is what he called him. And I mean, Kyle Gibson hasn't been good of late either. I'm surprised that one didn't move a lot. We got a little bit of movement with the Boston-Miami games. Depending on the market, it may have stayed strong, but Boston's going the opener route with the bulk reliever in there. So kind of interesting there. But then you look, and maybe that's why Miami has one of the more higher implied run totals on the board, just because Boston is employing that approach. But other than that, I mean, any game in Coors is pretty much guaranteed double digits. So that number there's no sticker shock with that number because it's in Coors Field. We expect it at this point.
Yeah, Coors is always interesting on the first nights of series, and we saw it last night. Like, not a lot of runs scored. Clayton Kershaw was as good as ever, but other than JD Martinez home runs, that was the bulk of the run production. So it'll be interesting to see what takes place in that game, because we're going to get into it here in a second, but it is a very enticing offensive matchup as Michael Grove was officially announced as the starter, not even the reliever. He is officially just the starter here tonight, Colby. And I see your eyes couldn't be wider from hearing that. And as you just frantically just type on the keyboard, like just messaging on the side. Oh, what is that? Oh, you can't believe Michael Grove starting. That means play all the Rocky. Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll get to that, Colby, here in a second. Stack, shout out to you for listening every day. We appreciate that. And Mark Mark wants to know, Colby, this is a question for you. Who is the Brandon Marsh today? I just get a hello, Mark. Thanks for stopping by. Hello to you too. Yeah. Rub your crystal mic, because I mean it's not an 8 ball, but like you have your mic right in front of you. If you had to pick anyone on today's slate to be your Brandon Marsh, who would it be?
It's got to be a value guy too, because I can't take like a higher owned guy because that's kind of the difference. I would say two guys we're probably going to end up talking about. I would lean towards Nolan Jones or Ryan O'Hearn.
Okay. And we'll get into them nice and early. Oh, Mark tried to literally catch you as you said Nolan Jones. That's crazy.
Great
Um,
minds.
Before we hop into pitcher, just quick note on some weather spots. Miami Boston looks as if it is the most unreliable. There could be a delay there. We'll see. Maybe that takes you off some pitching in that spot. Maybe it doesn't. But it doesn't look like it should be affecting the bats. So if you want to play Miami Boston bats, that's fine. And that's really it. I mean, the Cubs, there is wind blowing in a little bit, but it's not really anything that we need to worry about. There is a little wind blowing in Coors Field, not really anything to where we need to worry about. So, you know, little light on the weather front. So why don't we get into pitching, Colby? Because we have a lot of interesting names up top. Eflin, Webb, Nola, Snell, Senga. All those guys over 10K. And then you have three guys in Keller, Javier, Giolito over 9K. Of this tier above 9K, who are the names that stand out to you?
Yeah, it's none of the top ones there. I mean, I know Blake Snell was in the playbook today over at Fantasy Alarm, so definitely some love for him as he's like the best version of the best version of Blake Snell right
Yeah,
now. It's
really.
like if Blake Snell were ever to be firing on all cylinders with everything working perfectly and humming like a fine-tuned, oiled up machine, that's what he is right now. I mean, he is flat out good, and you can beat Pittsburgh right now. And then Kodai Senga's all over Fantasy Alarm today as well. He's in, I believe it's Servo's underdog picks. He's in my PrizePicks videos play. Such a good matchup. Milwaukee strikes out so much against right-handers, and also, as mentioned in the playbook, Senga, I believe the exact words were Senga's home road splits are crazy, I believe is the exact wordage that was used. And that's utterly correct. So really in this top tier, it's Senga and Snell over everybody else.
Yeah, I'm very my word selection goes really deep, as you can tell by using the word crazy in the first sentence of my Senga write up. Yeah, I would say those are probably the top two names for me as well. Snell was the cover of my playbook, and Senga's been in all the content. I think you and I haven't really moved off those two names. I'll still give some love to Aaron Nola here, who I was very. It's hard to include three guys in a playbook over 10K because it's you don't need to name. There's 26 pitchers, right? So like we're not naming everyone here. But I do like what Aaron Nola built on from his last start going up against Atlanta. The strikeouts have been very encouraging after a very less than stellar start in that department. And the Cubs are a team that strike out a lot against right-handed pitching. So like I would take a shot on Aaron Nola if I wasn't playing Snell or Senga. And in terms of ownership and where they're coming in right now, they're all fairly similar. Snell about 25%, Nola 21%, Senga 18%. So they're the clear cut three guys that everyone's kind of gravitating to. I will just ask because I see some ownership coming in on him and I want to get your opinion. Lucas Giolito getting about 15%. And I find that very interesting. One, because we've seen at times Shohei Ohtani sit days after he pitches. And I know he homered after leaving the start because of the blister or the fingernail, whatever it was. And then he homers with like one hand for the second of his day. If Ohtani isn't in the lineup, and I don't think we have anything official from the Angels yet, maybe we get it by the end of the stream, but it is pretty early considering they're a West Coast game. Would you consider Giolito? I mean, he's been relatively good outside of like laboring through that Seattle start.
Yeah, his home road splits are a bit worrisome when you do look like at his game logs and everything. Like his last start against Seattle was okay. The time before that, he was good against the Yankees, but congratulations, most
Yeah,
are at this
that's
point
yeah.
with the way they've been. That's nothing to be excited about. But then
No.
before that, not good on the road at Detroit. Okay, pretty good against Kansas City, and then just his other starts are just marginal at best on the road. And I don't know. I mean, if Ohtani doesn't play, that lineup definitely is more enticing to attack because if you can at least stick Shohei Ohtani in the top third of the order, we can joke about Drury and Moustakas as the 3-4 hitters because when Ohtani and Trout are right around there, it's kind of like, all right, they're still there. Those guys are still there to deal with. But yeah, you can do it. I have more interest in some LA left-handed bats against Giolito, more like
Right.
consideration that I put into actually playing Giolito myself.
Okay. I do think it's a little interesting. We'll see again about what the Angels do. They have been cautious with Otani at times, and um, you know, we'll see. So TBD there. It is interesting to see Giolito as one of the what is that top 6 owned pitchers of the night. He's one of 6 pitchers that are garnering 15% or higher. So I thought that was worth a conversation piece. What about in this next tier? I do like Braxton Garrett, and I understand that Boston doesn't strike out a lot against lefties, and they have had a bunch of success against left-handed pitching this year. But I also don't think we're gonna get a better version of Braxton Garrett for the. I mean, talk about like just domination. 27, 28, 37 fantasy points in 3 straight starts. 13, 8, 9. Two of those teams don't really strike out a lot. I mean, Washington we've talked about a lot. Like they don't strike out, and Garrett struck them out 8 times. The pitch count's on the rise. I mean, obviously the environment is a lot of is very scary because Fenway Park is not a great pitching environment. You weren't on Braxton Garrett last night. Does that hold true this afternoon?
I've warmed up to him a bit. I don't know if I can quite get there. Then you got the weather concerns a little bit that just cast a little
Yeah.
bit of doubt that make me just a little bit too worried. But it's kind of one of those things we talked about when you're looking at the lineups. You got a guy like Braxton Garrett who, when he does get hit, it's righties. When you think of the Boston lineup, the more prominent guys are mainly the left-handed bats in that lineup. Like I know Justin Turner is going to come to mind first, and of course a lefty's on the mound. So I mean, how dare we not mention Rob Refsnyder? I mean, how dare we not mention it? But after that, Rafael Devers, lefty. Jarren Duran, lefty. Everybody else in that lineup, Alex Verdugo, lefty. The other guys that you noticed, Garrett is going to have the advantage on those guys because he's so good against lefties. It's very weird. He falls in like this area that I'm not necessarily opposed to. Like I would prefer him to Lucas Giolito, but then I start looking at the names below him and I start getting more excited about those guys. So it's like he's just in this weird area of like, well, if I'm at Garrett, I'm okay with him, but am I going to be able to get up to one of those other guys? Or let me just save a couple hundred or maybe in some cases $1,000 and look at some of these other arms there.
So I'm assuming those names include Logan T. Allen, who dropped the T recently. We don't know where the T went or if it ran away. If his parents took it from him, I don't know. If you find out, let me know. But is Allen the one you're talking about, or do you have interest in someone else?
Allen certainly won. Kansas City has gotten progressively worse as the year's gone on against
Yep.
lefties. He's in the PrizePicks videos today. They're striking out, I think it's like 27% of the time here in the month of June against lefties. And Allen does have the strikeout upside. It hasn't quite been there of late, but he's got 3 outings this year with 8 or more Ks, including 1 double-digit outing against Baltimore. So
Yep.
he's definitely one. If you go back to the list, there, I believe I got one more at the bottom that is interesting that we talked about. I'll kind of steal your thunder with this one, but JP Sears. I mean, it's a good spot. Like picking against these Yankees can be very, very profitable. And this isn't something where it's like, well, the pitcher's not good, but it's a good matchup, and let's make this a dart throw. I don't know if I'd consider Sears a dart throw. Like there is enough juice with him here that it like actually makes sense to use him in the lineup at this price point. He's pitching well. The strikeouts are coming. That's what we need. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but he's got a good shot at a win. Like,
Yep.
he's going to handle this lineup, and if long as his team can help him out a little bit, he's in a good spot for a win tonight, and at just a hair over $7,000. There's a lot to like here with JP Sears.
Yeah, I mean, they beat him. They beat the Yankees last night. And once again, you saw what happens. The Yankees can't score. And honestly, the only thing that has really impacted Sears this year is the home runs. Like, he's allowed 5 home runs in his last 3 starts alone. He's allowed 18 home runs in 15 starts this year. Who on the Yankees? Giancarlo Stanton has really good home run odds. They were like plus 230 today. But what confidence does Giancarlo Stanton at this point give you? Like, the only good bats in the Yankees lineup at this point, and I really strong emphasis on good, that's just from the rest of the lineup perspective, is Billy McKinney, which is crazy to say, and he's a lefty, and maybe Anthony Rizzo, and that's just by default because he's hitting 260 and everyone else is hitting 240 or worse. So, like, they're both lefties. So I love JP Sears here. I actually am now seeing him pop up with a recent update with a bunch of ownership, and I think that's warranted. Like, he should be popular because he is probably the one of the better values of the day. Two guys I got to ask about because they're getting a lot of love, and I'm not sure what to make of them. One guy is opposing JP Sears, and I don't really get it because I think he's terrible. And I've thought that all year, and then we obviously have seen what he looks like without the sticky stuff. Domingo Herman is the highest projected rostered pitcher of the night. And I'm not sure if that stays by the time the next update comes, Colby. But Domingo Herman has allowed 15 earned runs over his last 2 starts. And like, one of them was against Seattle, who is a bad offense. One of them was in Fenway, who, yes, Red Sox hit righties really hard. They have a good offense. But he's allowed 5 home runs in the, like, I know Oakland's bad, but like, any love for Domingo Herman, or are you just against? Like, personally, I'm against the field here. I'm going against the field. I don't think I need to get to Domingo Herman on a 13 game slate. But what say you?
No.
No, I mean,
Like, why?
yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean,
This feels like the, all right, let's take a look. Who does Oakland play? All right, I like that guy.
Yes.
That's what it feels like. Like,
Yep.
don't get me wrong.
It is
I'm
that.
all for picking against Oakland. Like, in most cases, it's going to work. But like, at some point, let's take a look at some of these numbers here. And like, especially of late, it's been bad when you look. What was it? 4 home runs in his last outing, I believe it
Yeah,
was.
4 home runs.
Yeah, and when you look, it was spread across like lefties and righties. Like, he's getting hit from every which way. You know, last night, I don't remember who it was, but talked about the question of potentially some Oakland bats. That very well might be in play tonight. Like, do you want to take a chance with Ryan Noda and Seth Brown, the chance that barrel finds a ball? Because if it does against Domingo Herman, as of right now, the odds are in their favor of something good happening. So I don't get it with Herman tonight. I just can't believe that price point for him. There's so many better options.
I'm going to give Ice Through some credit for sure. I see him in the chat. We're going to get to your questions in a second, Ice Through, because we're on pitcher here. But yeah, I mean, 5 guys in this Oakland lineup with 180 ISO or better against right-handed pitching. That's a little scary. That's a lot of power. And we saw Seth Brown hit one out last night. So I fully agree. I have no interest. I am against the field here. And let's get to one of these questions Ice Through has, who he's talking about Jaime Barria. Ice Through, what's up, man? Good to see you back at it with the white Vans here. 6,800 for Jaime Barria. He only went 3 innings his last time out, 42 pitches. I understand, and this is what Eister's talking about here. He looked good against the White Sox. Different version of the White Sox at that point. Luis Robert wasn't clicking. Eloy Jimenez wasn't in the lineup. What do you make of Barria at 6,800? Is there any reason to get to him?
Not with Sears only being a couple $100 more. I
Agreed.
think this seems like trying to get a little cute. It's right now against White Sox. I want lefties because other than Luis Robert, no one in that lineup can hit a lefty. They have no pulse against lefties. They just don't even need to go step in the batter's box because the end result's the same. because at least they wouldn't strike out, and that'd be a net positive for the team. They just would take the
Right.
automatic out. So I understand he was good against them the last time. White Sox can be fine to pick against, but when you're looking at the cost, unless you really can't find a way to shed $300 or to get $300 back, you just got to pay up for Sears instead of Bria.
I agree. And last thing before we move on and get through the catcher position mighty quick is Dane Dunning getting a lot of ownership. Another guy just not missing bats this year. I get it. Another let's pick on the Tigers matchup, but I mean, he just faced the Tigers not too long ago. Didn't look great. Did have 6 strikeouts for what it's worth in that matchup. Yeah, again just get $1,000 more. Sears has infinitely more strikeout upside. So
you would need,
another
you would need Dunning to get the win. If he doesn't get the win, he's
yeah.
not doing enough to make it worthwhile otherwise. So, I mean, he's in a good spot for a win. Don't get me wrong, but
I was gonna say I feel confident in that. I do feel pretty confident in the win part of the equation, but like DraftKings, if you're playing pitchers on DraftKings that don't miss bats, you're already, I think, behind the 8 ball because that's real. You don't get a quality start. You don't get quality start points. You lose points for every base runner on, right? So I'm another one that I'm just kind of moving on from Dunning. Let's head over to catcher position where I think WD Smith is in an infinitely better spot. I mean, he was in a good spot last night. He struggled again, first night in Coors. That seems to be a pretty big trend. But he has mashed lefties this year. Elite numbers all around. Is WD Smith, who still should be called WD 40, and that's what he should change his number to. Is he the best catcher spend up on the day? And if not, who is?
Hard not to say. I mean, he hit an even 300
Yeah.
against lefties last year. He's in Coors, and the pitcher for Colorado tonight is one that we shouldn't be scared of, to say the least, in Kyle Freeland. So in terms of those options, I would say he is number 1, with Adley Rutschman being number 2 in my eyes, just because I love me a Baltimore stack tonight. So against Puke Weaver, is coined by Howard Bender. So yeah, I would say Rutschman's 2 and WD 40 Will Smith is probably number 1.
Yeah, I mean, let's just figure it out. I mean, you want to go by WD Smith, another guy name change. Like, let's just go all in with the phrase WD 40. I would play either Texas catcher. Something I found really interesting tonight, though, Colby, Mitch Garver had the second best odds for Texas to hit a home run tonight. And that's not me like discounting Mitch Garver, because I think he's a very good offensive minded catcher, but he has been struggling this year, or at least upon returning from the initial injury. I don't know, like, he's definitely a better price than Jonah Heim. Both have been good against lefties. You have a lean either way. The home run odds for me like push me to the Garver side, and I save a little cash. But obviously Jonah Heim hitting in a better spot in the lineup. Do you have a lean either way?
Typically lefties, I like to lean Heim, but I mean, this could be a case where if you like the home run odds, save, what is it, $500 there and drop down to Garver. I mean,
Yep.
sure. I mean, I don't mind it. I think it's, if you're not going with one of the 2 big guys in Smith or Rutschman to behind the dish, we love Texas against lefties, especially bad ones like they're facing tonight. So I definitely think you could do either one. And Vegas is one of those things where, like, maybe it's not the final decision that we make, but you do have to take it into some consideration. And
Right.
it's not like this Vegas knows something before we do, but they got a hunch on something. So I like both catchers. I'd be okay with like putting in Heim, and then if you got to shed $500 quick, like maybe because you want to get up to JP Sears, then you can go ahead and do that drop down to Garver. I think you'll be just fine. Both are in good spots.
What about any catchers down here in this next tier? Yanier Diaz sits here at 3,400. He gets a righty. That's been his bread and butter. Francisco Alvarez is in a good position in the lineup, but he has hit righties infinitely better than he has lefties. What do we got down here? Is there anything that really piques your interest? When I was looking, I did not love this spend down. I found myself just getting to Francisco Mejia quite a bit. Lefty righty. He's a switch hitter, and we talked about it on the pod this morning. Like, lefties are just giving Zach Davies fits.
Yeah, and that's probably going to continue. I mean, could you maybe consider Yasmani Grandal against a
Yeah,
right-hander? I mean, good
yeah,
side of his splits. It's Yanier Diaz. Let me not bury the lead. Yanier Diaz is my favorite catcher down in this price range. But if you're going to
yep.
go elsewhere, I mean, Yasmani Grandal against a righty, fine. You could look there. Outside of that, I mean, any left-handed bat against Zach Davies tonight, and I'll even settle for any bat against Zach Davies tonight. I think
Right.
that's a way to go. But yeah, catcher seems like kind of like a 4 or 5 horse race between the two big boys, one of the Texas guys, and then like Yanier Diaz, who maybe on a point per dollar basis just might be my favorite.
Okay, and I like that because he's raking against right-handed pitching. Let me get the official. Officially hitting fifth tonight, 287 ISO, 385 WOBA against right-handed pitching. So yeah, Miles Mikolas, 333 WOBA allowed to righties. So I love it. Let's move to first base, where I think this is a very tough decision to make above 5K. You could obviously play Ohtani here. You could play Freeman here. You could have Pete Alonso here at 5K. I think between those three guys, this top tier is super elite. I think this position is pretty hard to figure out because now you have Michael Grove starting and 4,600 CJ Cron sitting there, and he's been better against right-handed pitching over the last few years. Like, how are you approaching this top tier of first base, Colby?
Close my eyes and pick one. Like they're all in good spots. Like when we did
Yeah.
the early pod, Otani's got good BVP numbers against Giolito. If we see him, Freddie Freeman also lefty on lefty crime, but he's 7 for 25 in his career against Kyle Freeland, but he's also hitting lefties at
Yep.
over 300 this year. So you can look to a guy like him. Then you got Pete Alonso. He's got a home run in his career off Wade Miley, and he's a noted left-handed killer. Like that's what it is. That's what we're dealing with at the top of the slate in this position. Then you drop down into like the CJ Cron, Spencer Steer, if you want to bring it back on the other side. First base is not hurting for options tonight. That's to say the least.
Not hurting for options. I will just circle back real quick because Mark asked a question about Fortes here, and he is actually going to be a little popular. He has hit left-handed pitching well. I'm okay with it, Mark. Do want to, if you do want to go the direction of the Marlins, they do have some good power bats against
And
lefties.
they have a higher implied
And-
run total too. So it's not all that
yep,
crazy. And when it's the opener and the bullpen, like the long reliever tonight, I forget his name, Chris Murphy.
yep,
I
Murphy.
was just looking at it, and his numbers in AAA or in the minors are putrid. Like it's bad. Like Miami, I
Yep.
wish Josh Chisholm wasn't so expensive tonight. It'd be so much easier just to slot him in there, throw Fortes and Soler in there, and you got yourself a nice little Miami Marlins mini stack with the three guys there. I wouldn't mind that one bit.
Yeah. And honestly, like you could just, if you wanted to go even create like Mr. Power Bat himself, Garrett Cooper, if he ever stayed healthy, he could have multiple 30 home run years on his resume here. Rest of first base, Justin Turner sits here 4,300 if you're attacking Braxton Garrett. Alec Boehm is first third eligible. I think though $3,200 Ryan O'Hearn is probably the best value at first, if not one of the better values of the day, considering his matchup against Luke Weaver.
Yep, absolutely. Any bat against Puke Weaver is going to be fine. I think we're going to go the other way. He's a value bet I do really like. What's interesting with him, you do have the option with how loaded first base is to put him in the outfield if you need
Right.
that flexibility. And then if you scroll up in the low to mid fours, does Luke Raley have the first outfield too? Yes, he does
He
too.
sure
So another
does.
lefty bat against Zach Davis. Zach Davies. So right here's your option too, where you can basically, if you love this first base position, like I really do tonight, you can play
Yep.
3.
Yep.
Now you got to get a little
You could.
creative with it, but you can do it. And I mean, Rayleigh's in a very good spot too.
He is. And I think since we're here at first base, bets are Ohtani, gun to your head, Colby, if you can only play one. By our boy Aaron here.
Uh,
I mean, good luck picking one.
I mean, there's no wrong answer, so I feel
I
good about it. But I go
yeah, I
Ohtani.
would lean. So I'll split it and I'll go
That's so
Mookie. That doesn't.
helpful.
I know that doesn't help Aaron. He has been really good against left-handed pitching this year. I know Otani's good against everybody, but I don't know if I mean, take your pick. We split the difference here. Otani was the cover of our content today, so if you want that to be the tiebreaker, have that as your tiebreaker. A position that we don't feel as confident about tonight, Colby, is second base because it kind of stinks again. But there's one name on the list that it makes up for all the bad here, and it is your boy Jordan Westberg here at $2,900, now second base eligible.
Yep. And I've been waiting for him to face a righty. Talked about in the early preview. 17 of his 18 homers in the minor this year did come against right-handed pitching. Luke Weaver stinks against left-handed bats, right-handed bats, switch-handed bats, both-handed bats. Anybody with a bat, not good. So it's you want the Baltimore stack. He may not be minimum priced anymore, but he's still a free square. Because look what he's done these first two games, and like you can look at the hits. He's willing to take that fourth ball. He's willing to take the base on balls. Like there's a lot to like here with Westberg, and $2,900 still very okay with me. And honestly, I'm glad we can play him at second base because the past couple nights outside of Marcus Semien, it's been like, can we just close our eyes and pick one at this position because it's just a nightmare.
Yep. Well, we got to play Ha-Seong Kim, and Better Boss stopped by in the
True.
chat and said he's been saving his fantasy team. Yeah, we were
He's saving the whole
big
position for
fans.
DFS.
He has been saving the whole position lately for 5 double-digit fantasy point games over his last 6. Would you go back to the well? I'm not sure I would tonight against Mitch Keller, but he has been good. Like undoubtedly, he's been very good.
Oh, for sure. I don't think I would tonight either. I do like the guy right above him, Matt McLain, very good against righties. Kyle Gibson stinks. I love a lot of runs to be scored in this game. So yeah, if I had the money for Ha-Seong Kim, I'm probably just going to look to try to get up to McLain because my lineup is very Baltimore heavy, and then I try to bring it back with a Cincinnati bat or two, and McLain ends up a lot of times being the option, whether it be at second or short, because he's got both. I really like McLain tonight too.
What is the rest of your second base flavor, if you have any? Like, is there any other names you want to play? I have one. I have one.
Yeah, I have one that as I'm talking about it, I don't really feel good about it, but it's one to consider, and it's the upside's very capped. I'm going to be the first to admit it, but Brendan Donovan down there at that price point. Here's the thing. Christian Javier in June has served up a 367 batting average to left-handed hitters. I'm not stacking Cardinals. I don't want to go at him that way. But I think we can get it done here with Brendan Donovan, maybe a couple of hits here, and he's on the good side of his split, so he could be interesting.
Ohtani officially in the lineup tonight, DHing, hitting second. So just a note there. Mike Moustakas still hitting fourth. That is also a note. Also a choice that the Angels are making. The only other name I'll throw out there other than your Brendan Donovan call, and I don't hate that at all, is Miguel Vargas. And I know Miguel Vargas has been a literal zero essentially every day at this point. He's 1 for his last 31. But he is a powerful dude, specifically against left-handed pitching. He has shown a lot of power. So Miguel Vargas 4K, I'd be okay with in a Dodger stack. Let's move on to a much more fun position at third. And I think there's another day of just infinite amount of options. I mean, we have Elly De La Cruz, you could play at short and third. You have Rafael Devers, who has not been shy about hitting lefties. Jose Ramirez has been dominant against lefties this year. Max Muncy has some of the best home run odds on the board. And then you have 3 names, and this is the tier I actually want to live in. Ryan McMahon, Josh Jung, Gunnar Henderson. Those are my 3 favorite third basemen of the day. And honestly, I'd even throw Isaac Paredes in there too, who's also been mashing baseballs. What is your like flavor here at third? Because again, this position is just so fruitful everywhere you look.
Yeah, this one's really good. Love Elly De La Cruz anytime a righty's on the mound, so certainly go with him. But yeah, that Ryan McMahon, Josh Jung area, Gunnar Henderson, that's where I want to be. And especially now with, after last night where the Dodgers made us wait till what felt like 6 minutes before the game started for a lineup, they said, you know what? Speaking as a team, I'm going to apologize for what we did here. So we're going to let Michael Grove start tonight. Like, you know what?
That was a nice apology.
That makes it worth it. Colorado left-handed bats Sign me up. And when you look at Grove's numbers too, like if you pull, you don't have to pull his page up, but I'm pretty sure his ERA on the road is at like double digits. Again, small sample size. I get it. But he stinks on the road. He stinks against left-handed pitching. Now has to go into the game's best offensive park. Good luck.
That says 13,
That's a
Colby.
double-digit
That
number.
says Hey, lucky number 13 tonight for Michael Grove on the road there, huh?
Well, hey, the line's at 12.5. Can he let up 13 himself? I mean, what would his last couple starts, if he's parlayed over at full like starter's workload? Yeah, not gonna be too good. Pretty good at four home runs. Yep. I love Ryan McMahon. I love Nolan Jones. Love those Colorado left-handed bats in particular.
Yeah, me too. And it's funny because you tend to get this where teams go to cores, and we always look to jam in those teams. And the Rockies, although they are bad, I will not. I will get that out front. They have been better against righties specifically. Like they are a 0 against lefties, as we saw even in Coors Field. They are just a 0 against left-handed pitching. They are not that against righties, and the getting CJ Cron back in the middle of that lineup is definitely going to help. So I think Ryan McMahon, if you're ranking, just quick ranking of McMahon, Jung, Henderson, would you rank them as priced, or would you flip any of them?
With Michael Grove starting, I think the way they're priced is good. I think that's fair. I think that's where I would do it. McMahon, Jung, Henderson.
Yeah, I think I would too. Obviously, depending on your stack, something that you talked about last night, like if you're stacking one or the other, then hey, Josh Jung, by the way, the lowest owned of the group, so maybe a nice little contrarian play there. Anytime Texas is a contrarian, I think that's could be quite nice for your lineups. I don't know if we need to go any further down. We can, like, you can play Bohm here. Miguel Garcia has hit lefties extremely well if you're targeting against Logan T. Allen, if you wanted to. Josh Donaldson hit another meaningless home run last night for the Yankees. That's all every home run he's hit this year, they've lost. Any need to go down here, I guess, is the real question. Like, it doesn't feel like there is.
No, there's no need.
Then let's go to shortstop, which there's need to play guys here. And Corey Seager tops the list. I have never once been afraid to play. I guess you could throw Mookie in there if you wanted to as well. I've never been afraid to play Corey Seager against a lefty because he hits them as well as he hits righties. Wander Franco just feels like inevitably gets on and steals a bag tonight against Kyle Davies. I know this is the worst side of his split, but I think that could be multi-hits and multi-stolen bases and multi-runs scored for Wander Franco tonight, just given Davies struggles against lefties and it's a good hitting environment in Arizona. What's your opinion here on this top tier of shortstop? Because again, very obviously it's going to be elite with 26 teams in play, but very good spots for each one of these guys.
Yeah, never fear with Corey Seager. Hits lefties very well, like you said. Wander Franco's a left-handed bat going up against Zach Davies, who can't get lefties out. So I think by nature we have to like that. And I know we just talked about him at third base, so I hate to bring him back up, but I think this spot's very attractive for either Ellie De La Cruz or Gunnar Henderson. Like if you can't wedge in Gunnar Henderson at third, here's your option. Yep. Get a minute short, keep going with that Baltimore stack. Yeah. I mean, and the price point's very good here. The spot's good, but yeah, if you're going to pay up, it seems like it's Ellie De La Cruz, Corey Seager, or Wander Franco. That could be dependent on how you end up stacking this game. I really, really like Wander Franco though. I'm enamored by these Tampa Bay bats. Like they very well, despite not playing at Coors, could lead the slate in runs scored. Like Zach Davies is that bad, and there's enough juice there. I know Coors and Baltimore, those games are going to have a lot of runs, but Tampa Bay is going to put a lot up.
Yep, I agree. To your Gunnar Henderson point about the price too, of like this tier of names, I would say Baltimore is the easiest to stack. Because their prices, like O'Hearn, we mentioned, is $3,200. I mean, Adley Rutschman is their most expensive player. When do you ever get a catcher as your most expensive player? So I agree on Henderson. I obviously agree on Wander Franco as well. I have a lot of interest in Francisco current power surge he's on, $4,400, 4 home runs in his last 9 games, 2 in his last 3. And the one thing that we've just known since the start, and yes, he has obviously struggled against right-handed pitching over the last couple years, and that's why his numbers look the way they are. He has not struggled against left-handed pitching. No, no, no. He is mashing them like he has pretty much his whole career. 341 ISO leads the Mets. 378 WOBA leads the Mets. It's better, both numbers better than Pete Alonso, who is, you know, one of, if not the most prolific power hitter in baseball. Him and Aaron Judge sit on that pedestal alone. So I have a lot of interest in Lindor, and you and I talked about it. Wade Miley is not, he's going to, whether it's, I think it's going to be this start, but whether it's this start or not, the peripheral numbers all suggest a massive blowout coming. I love Lindor here at 4,400.
And Lindor's a guy too. If you look at his career, as the weather gets warmer, he starts getting warmer. So maybe that coincides with this power surge as it's starting to get a little warmer around the baseball landscape. But yeah, he's got 368 WOBA in his career against Wade Miley too. So for the BVP truthers out there.
Ooh, always showing love to the BVP truthers. You're not going to catch me doing it, so I guess somebody has to be their hero. Anyone else at short? Like another position where I don't feel the need to spend down. Obviously, you can if you wanted to. Ezekiel Tovar is there, hitting second in the Rockies lineup. I would assume he probably piques your interest the most.
Yeah, it'd be Tovar. I mean, if you're just going full bore Colorado against Michael Grove, you can do. I mean, Tovar okay against righties, 311 WOBA this year. Not a world beater by any means, but I mean, there's not many times you get a guy sub 4 at the top of the lineup in cores. So I mean, you have to take that. You got to take that into consideration.
Yeah, definitely a good. Trying to look. Dodgers lineup is out. Ooh, definitely not the best version of the Dodgers lineup here, Colby. I will note we do have a shortstop hitting sixth here for the Dodgers tonight in Miguel Rojas. Any interest there? Again, hitting sixth. That is what the Dodgers lineup presents tonight, which means who's not in the lineup? Betts, Freeman, Smith, Martinez. That's normal. No Muncy tonight.
Isn't.
Yeah, no Vargas. Vargas hitting fifth. Rojas sixth. Outman seventh, DeLuca eighth, Hernandez ninth. So any love, Miguel Rojas 2,900?
Sure. He's in cores.
Sure, right? In cores.
Right, sure. I mean, if we weren't in cores, maybe not. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking to stack the Dodger bats or just that game in total, you could do worse than him. He should come up to bat with some runners on base every now and again.
Let's see how he is against lefties this year.
He does have a 444 WOBA too against Kyle Freeland for his career for the BVP truthers out there.
That's interesting. Not doing great against lefties this year. Wasn't great against them last year either, but like again, he's free. 2,900 gets you a lot of. I mean, no home runs this year. 5 stolen bases, I guess, provides you a little upside. I'm okay with it, but let's move on to the outfield. I think that's probably the end of our Miguel Rojas chatter. Mookie Betts is my favorite outfielder today. We already talked about Ohtani at first. Obviously, I asked you the question, and then I put up a Twitter question about is he the greatest baseball player of all time? And then he struck out the side and hit a second home run to get to 10 home runs or 10 strikeouts and 2 strikeouts. Like after asking that question, and I felt very vindicated and not prisoner of the moment though, because I mean, we've never seen this, but like, if you want to play Ohtani, obviously, if you want to play Mookie Betts, obviously, who are the not so obvious names above 5K that we should be looking at, Colby?
Randy Rosarina, another Rays bat that I like. So gotta mention him. He's in a good spot too, and he should come up to bat with runners on base and score himself. We roll down a little bit.
I guess no one else in 5, maybe JD.
Maybe, but like that, he's been better against righties though, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has been way better against right-handed pitching.
Yep. I talked about Jazz Chisholm. He looked good in his most recent game, and Boston's they're throwing the kitchen sink in this one, to say the least. So Jazz is in a good spot if you want to go sneaky with maybe like a Miami stack or just a couple guys there. And I know he's not above 5,000, so I'm going to jump ahead here just because why not? But yeah, I really like Cedric Mullins too. He's in a very good spot. I think he made Bender's best bets too for the day. I think he had him over 1.5 total bases, and Mullins just very good spot. Again, I know I keep harping on these Baltimore bats, but Luke Weaver is not going to be the team to slow them down.
I will still say Acuna's numbers plus steals just as elite as Otani. I mean, like they're gonna win the MVP. Respect, like they're both gonna win MVP. So like we don't have to have that debate. Acuna has been amazing. Uh, He doesn't pitch. He doesn't pitch. I don't
He
know.
throws
I don't know what
100
to
from
say.
right field, though.
He does from right field. Yes. I mean, like look, I'm not discrediting Acuna at all. He's obviously been as incredible as anyone else, other than Shohei Ohtani, who also had 10 strikeouts and 2 home runs last night. So when Ronald Acuna does that, let me know. No offense, Aaron. I appreciate the comments you always provide here. Under Cedric Mullins, we have the likes of Adam Duvall, the aforementioned Jorge Soler from Mark earlier, who we know has a lot of power. I like both those guys. I know Josh Lowe has struggled lately, but he's done all of his damage against righties this year. When another team we keep harping on is the Rays. I think that's viable. Anthony Santander, although his better split is from the right side, he does still have power from the left side. That's not to say like he only hits from one side of the plate. 227 ISO from the left side, and the one thing Colby, I'll say here, and why I do have like no issues getting to the Orioles is the right field wall was unaffected when they shifted that ballpark around. Like that has always been, yes, there's a giant wall over there, but it's still short. Like if Luke Weaver's serving up home runs to all these lefties, the left field wall is not going to matter here. I wouldn't be surprised if Santander put one out over that right field wall tonight at 4,400. I don't know how much we have to say it. Baltimore is maybe the best stack, if not like outside of Tampa or the Dodgers tonight. And honestly, seeing the Dodgers lineup doesn't make me feel too great about them. After upon further review.
Yeah, it's ugly. It's an ugly lineup. The bottom half is not what you would like to see. And I agree with you on Josh Lowe. I think he's the one that if you're going to stack Rays, he's probably not going to be one of the more highly owned ones.
Nope.
So if you want to differentiate within a very popular stack, Josh Lowe might be the play. For a very similar price, you got Luke Raley. I think he might be more owned because he just hasn't been as bad as Josh Lowe of late. So you can be with the majority in terms of stacking Rays, but how you do it is where you can gain that slight edge within it. So maybe when others zig to Raley, maybe the contrarian move is to zag to Josh Lowe.
Yeah, honestly, looking at some ownership too, the Rays, like most popular owned outfielders tonight, are not either of those two names. They're all the righty bats, which I find a little interesting. I guess people are not paying attention, kind of sleeping at the wheel here. So maybe going Josh Lowe makes a lot of sense. What about? I'll just go back to where's Mark's comment here. He just wrote Nolan Jones. And I think that's a great comment. I know there was context behind it, but if someone's reading the comment section and just sees Nolan Jones, I love Nolan Jones here at $4,400.
Yep, Michael Grove OPS over 1,100 allowed to lefties. Nolan Jones 450 WOBA against righties. Match made in heaven.
What do we got below 4K, Colby, or right at 4K? Like, why don't you just rattle off some of the names that are in your wheelhouse here?
Michael Conforto is interesting.
Yep.
I would love to be in on Brian De La Cruz if I was looking at a Miami stack. I don't know if I can quite bring myself around to it. You guessed it, another Baltimore bat, Austin Hayes.
Yep.
Going to be in another good spot as well. So it seems like when we start getting into this range, it's a lot of guys where I already have other pieces of other offenses. I don't know if there's really a true like standalone one-off play that I kind of like down in this price range, at least from the looks of it.
So I like Profar leading off against Michael Grove. I also like Starling Marte back in the 2-hole. There, when you go down, obviously, looking at Rob Refsnyder and the 2 Texas guys is very intriguing. Ezekiel Duran has been amazing against left-handed pitching all year. So has Leody Taveras. I think you can play both. We can play O'Hearn here.
Oh, yeah, O'Hearn. What about Jose Siri? He's on a little bit of a power binge.
Yes. I could see a bat flip tonight out of Jose Siri. That's for sure. I can see a bat flip I can see a bat flip from Jose Siri tonight for sure. I mean, that's what he does, dude. Like he's just
Oh yeah.
monster power bat. And you mentioned it earlier, like righties. Zach Davies has just been bad in general. I could get behind now. He has limited power against righties. Lefties have definitely been worse or hurt him worse. I'm okay with Jose Siri just because the sheer upside. I mean, he does lead the team in ISO against right-handed pitching. So,
Mhm.
definitely can get to Jose Siri 36. That's a really good price considering he made it all the way up to 4K. I have interest in Tommy Pham. If you're playing Met stacks here, he's been pretty good. He's been very good against lefties overall. Very good price hitting in the middle of that Mets lineup. And we've talked at nauseum about how Wade Miley has really, really, really just gotten lucky. Just there's nothing else to say. Every metric, BABIP, XFIP, Sierra, literally are 2 runs higher. And for BABIP, it's like a 230. I mean, it's just he's not going to continue to get this lucky. I think he's going to run into some problems here. Anyone under? Let's dive deep here, Colby, before we
Ooh.
build the lineup here. Anyone under 3K that you would have interest in? Because I just saw some ownership updates and Johnny DeLuca of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and this is literally just a play because he is min salary. And I do believe I mentioned he was in the lineup, correct? Like we're getting Johnny DeLuca in the lineup tonight.
Mhm.
He is the second highest play of the slate. Thoughts on Johnny DeLuca here, $2,700 against the lefty?
Trying to catch, what is it, lightning in a bottle, they say?
Yeah, yep,
That seems kind of what we're looking at here. I think uh, I get it. I get the play. He's getting the course field bump. That's why I think there's some interest there.
yep.
And I mean, any bat against Kyle Freeland's probably going to hang out okay. Other guys here, I mean, we talked about it a bit earlier. Do we look at like a Seth Brown type?
We could. We sure
There's
could.
If the barrel finds the ball, good things have happened against Domingo Herman of late, and he's put up some fantasy points of late with homers and a couple games here back to back. So, yeah, I think maybe those lefty bats for Oakland are interesting, headlined by Seth Brown and sub 3K price.
Yeah, I would probably only play one of them.
Yes.
Like I would just use them as a one-off as opposed to like getting. I know Domingo Herman is obviously susceptible to power, but I think Seth Brown would probably be the guy for me that I would use. Now, I would also take a look at Aaron Hicks if you're playing a stack here.
Mhm.
$2,600 is a good price. Other than that, though, I don't think we need to get to anyone.
No,
Nothing else really feels that good. So,
it's lineup
uh,
time.
it's lineup time, right? It's lineup time. You know what? Let's do this real quick, and we'll just do the home run call, so we're not speeding through our lineup. Colby, what do you got for a home run call? I know if you guys do want to get in on the action, I do a Twitter poll every single day, Monday through Friday. At you see my tag right here, and I just simply say who's going yard. And who do you got today, Colby?
Yeah, we did the early preview. I said it'd be Shohei Ohtani, but if we're gonna try to catch, as I just talked about, DeLuca, but lightning in a bottle, little value home run action. I've already said them. I said the two: Ryan O'Hearn and Nolan Jones.
Okay. I think I'm gonna go with Anthony Santander to go deep against Puke Weaver, as we mentioned.
I love it.
So let's get up into the lineup construction. I assumed we're gonna go Kodai Senga, and we had a question earlier from Ryan. He said double spend up on pitcher day. Mid range is meh. We could do that approach. And Ryan, what's going on, man? Happy to have you back as you are every day. But I don't know if we can afford it, but I know between Snell and Senga, we're going to choose at least one of those guys.
Yeah, I think depending on how much value you go with, I don't think a Snell Senga duo is completely out of the question. I don't think it's unfathomable. Like I think we could do it. Doing this though, we're basically gonna start locking into like Westberg, O'Hearn. We're gonna get more value bats than like the creme de la creme of the Baltimore lineup.
Well, why don't we just fire through it and see what we can get if we did a kind of double
Mhm.
spend up because I do like the idea of it. If we had one spend up bat, who would it be for you? Like if we could afford one spend up bat,
Ooh.
Mookie, Otani. Wander. I mean,
If we
they're obviously
if we go Ohtani, it's our high play is a one-off bat.
yes, that
That's
is true.
the only thing that scares me. Would we even go another bat with Mookie from the Dodgers game?
DeLuca
Yeah, how could I forget him?
or Rojas would probably like.
What
I'm just
about
thinking affordability.
what about Wander?
I like Wander because we can play probably Rayleigh or Josh Lowe in the outfield. We could
Because
play
then that keeps third base open too, and maybe we'll have enough for a Jung, or we go McMahon and Nolan Jones and just get the two Colorado lefty bats
Ooh, hmm.
against Grove.
Yeah, I like that quite a bit because I think we had a couple. We have $2,900 for 2 outfield spots. I mean,
Not horrible.
it's not horrible. It is doable. We could go to Aaron Hicks at 2,600 to do a 3-pack of Baltimore.
Okay.
And that would give us $3,300, which I think is Leotes or Refsnyder. I don't hate that.
I'd probably lean Leote
Or
there.
Fam.
You talked about Fam. What if we dropped Wander and we got your Francisco Lindor play?
I would love that. And then we
Okay.
could probably go Fam and then go up from Aaron Hicks.
Yes.
Because then we have a very limited amount of time here as we $4,000. Colby, what do we got? Profar and just
Profar,
go
bring it back. Yep.
bang. Snell, Senga, Mejia, O'Hearn, Westberg, McMahon, Lindor, Nolan Jones, Tommy Pham, Jerks, and Profar. That's the lineup. That'll do it for Colby and I. We'll be back at 9 a.m. with tomorrow's podcast and back at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the live stream.